Say hey, everyone. Welcome into another edition of Say Hey Plays. My name is Jose Bouquett, and alongside me, the white whale of the WBC, I would say. Some people would say, hey, is this the WBC graphics guy? No, it's Shawn Spradling, not Spalding. You would look at his last name and you would think Spalding, but it's Spradling. Shawn, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. It does look like the basketball. That's normally what people go for, the Spalding. So good job on the Spradling. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. I got you. I do my research. It's a good time, so I'm lovely. I'm excited to have you. It's lovely to have you on, and I'm excited to chat. But first, before we start talking about the WBC, Shawn, I want people to get to know you because, like I said, if you're on Twitter nowadays, and you probably are if you're watching the show, you've probably seen Shawn's graphics. And by the way, shout out to you. I love the change over time in your graphics. I got a good kick out of that. And you're making the graphics community proud out there. I got a good laugh. But
do you like the first one where it was just the name in black and white with the diamond?
Yes, no, it's great. That's how we start. You just gotta do it. You just gotta do it, and you'll get better. Now your graphics are a work of art now, Shawn.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
But let's just start with Shawn. Who the hell are you? Because like I said, people know you as the graphics guy. Who are you, Shawn? Where have you come from? And why are you so obsessed with international baseball?
That is the question, isn't it? So I have been a baseball fan my whole life. I've grew up playing baseball, grew up watching baseball from Austin, Texas. And so baseball was Texas guy. Yep.
I'm in San Antonio right now, which is funny.
Oh, no way. Okay. Yeah. So super close. I am actually in Colorado right now, but all my life grew up in Austin, lived there. So baseball was surrounded by baseball. I don't work in baseball or anything right now. That's kind of the end goal, is for all of this to hopefully turn into something. But I kind of just started posting on Twitter right around the time last summer when MLB finally decided, okay, we're doing the WBC, we're going to post it. It's happening next year because it was delayed a few years thanks to COVID. So because of that, I was like, all right, cool. Like, this looks like a lot of fun. I loved it in 2017. I'm excited for it to finally be back. So let's Google some rosters, see what's happening out there. And there was nothing. There was no news whatsoever on any team. If you went to the Wikipedia pages, it was if you looked up Team Mexico 2023 WBC, it was just their 2017 roster. So everything was just from the last WBC. So I kind of took it upon myself to just do some researching. It started with the Dream Team graphics, where I would do some research around all of the 20 teams that are participating in the WBC, would find out all of the players that were eligible, because we didn't know anybody that was actually committed yet, and would make, like you said, a graphic of what the teams could look like. Then that eventually turned into just daily WBC content, reporting on players that are committing or have been included in the rosters. A lot of Google Translate from Japanese and Korean and Spanish. So that's been a lot of fun. Even some Italian. Sure. So yeah, it's been fun. I think my love for the WBC specifically, ironically enough, was baseball, but didn't come directly from baseball. It's a combination, I think, for me, with just my love for baseball, but then also my wife's family is Brazilian, and I visited her family back in 2018 during the World Cup. So seeing just a actual World Cup not in person, but being there in Brazil and going to these watch parties and seeing the entire country shut down for a month was just I was addicted to it at that point. And so I realized, okay, well, maybe the WBC can eventually turn into something even remotely close to that. So I just love seeing the different teams, seeing the way that the Japanese team looks different from the Dominican team, and the Puerto Rican team looks different from the Canadian team, the way they play, their energy. So it's a lot of fun.
No, yeah, 100%. By the way, that shirt you're wearing right now, it screams Texas. I love a little denim shirt. Love that. So by the way,
yes, sir.
Here's a fun fact about us. I think there's a connective tissue between us, Shawn, besides our Texasness.
Really?
I think you went to A&M. Did you? Are you an A&M guy? Yeah. So
Yes, sir.
you've watched A&M baseball, and you might. I think you know Dylan Rock, eh?
I do, of course.
Yeah. Shout out to Dylan Rock, good guy, Dylan Rock. He went to UTSA. I was the baseball manager for UTSA while he was here, so I know.
No way.
So I know Dylan Rock pretty well. And I knew Dylan Rock right before his country music phase. He has some very funny Instagram posts from back in the day, and he looks. I honestly thought they were photoshopped. It looks like he's a country music star. He has the longest hair ever. Is the funniest thing ever. But shout out to Dylan Rock wherever he is out there, and I hope. And by the way, shout out to Jordan Thompson too, another A&M baseball player I know now. So. Baseball, very interesting. So shout out to you, Shawn. So a lot of Texas in this episode so far, but
I love it. I've been missing Texas recently, so I appreciate us spotlighting our state.
Of course, 6th Street, yeah, whatever, the Jackrabbit, yeah. I've been there. The fish bowls, yeah, tossed
all the Texas things.
Yeah, exactly. Shout out to Buc-ee's too. But let's talk about this group, Pool C. I am decidedly not from America, Shawn, from Venezuela. So I actively root for the U.S. to lose in almost everything. I will admit, I sit back and I root for their demise, and especially in baseball. And this WBC has been obviously like the one that has gotten the most American players like into it now. It's become a thing finally after 2017. Which, you know, I will admit it did hurt my feelings a little bit to see all the American players starting to realize, oh, this is awesome. Let's start playing in it. But it's good for the sport. It's good for the tournament. It makes it more interesting to cover. And overall, this is going to be one of the better U.S. teams we've seen. They're the second favorites right now behind the DR, which if you've watched these shows, you know how I feel about both those teams. Again, from Venezuela, meaning I think those are two life rivals in this sport. Shout out to both of them because they knocked Venezuela out of the baseball Olympics as well, which broke my soul.
True.
Which broke my soul. And I hold it. Everyone loves Julio Rodriguez. I hate him. I can't stand him. He just dominated the Olympic qualifying at 18. I was like, who is this guy? Like, what is this guy's going to turn into King Griffey? And guess what? I guess he's pretty good. So, but the U.S., let's talk about what everyone wants to talk about with the U.S. because the lineup we can talk about because it's just fantastic. But the pitching is what people care about in this rotation in this tournament. It's very funny because we've got apparently confirmed now, and you're the man to talk about confirmations here. Thankfully, Wainwright, Brady Singer, Miles Michaelis, and Merle Kelly. So now, if you watch baseball, you're like, yeah, I know Adam Wainwright, and then that's it. You're like, I don't know who Brady Singer is on a normal day. Miles Michaelis, maybe. Merle Kelly, no chance. So, the flat statement is how is the U.S. going to manage with this starting pitching staff, and is it going to be like 2 starts per guy? How do you think it's going to break down, Shawn?
Yeah, that's the question that everybody's asking about Team USA because for one reason or another, we cannot get all of the top guys to play for the WBC in pitching. We have all of the guys. We have our whole lineup is stacked, but with the rotation and even somewhat in the bullpen, but the bullpen's pretty good. The rotation is just not. It's not what we want to see.
No.
That being said,
it holds my heart. Like, I love it. It's the thing that I hold on to when I'm like, please, I need the U.S. to lose these games. Please.
That's what you hold on to. Yep. So maybe it's not what I want to see, but it's what you want to see. So I guess good for Venezuelan and the rest of Pool C fans.
Let's be honest. So, like, the U.S. would dominate if they brought their guys in. So then that's not fun. You know, we don't want this to turn into basketball.
Well, it's funny because everybody talks about how in 2017 when Team USA won, it grew the WBC a lot, which I agree.
Yeah.
USA winning, it was big for the tournament. But at the same time, I feel like now that they've won, if they were to lose, like with a huge upset to Mexico or Colombia, that would be just as good for the tournament because it would just be such a surprise. Yep. So I mean, I think it'd be pretty fun to see. Of course, not for me as a US fan, but for baseball as a whole, it would be fun to see. But the pitching, the starting rotation, like you said, we got guys like Adam Wainwright, Brady Singer, Miles Michaelis, Merrill Kelly, Lance Lynn. So Nick Martinez, we now know is confirmed on the 30-man roster after Kershaw dropped out. So he'll probably start a couple games, 1 or 2 games. The thing with the starting pitching is that it's not what we want it to be as U.S. fans, but it's the guys are reliable. They're strong, solid pitchers in their own right. And the thing that I'm kind of holding on to is the pitch limit. Unfortunately, I have to kind of cling to that because with that, they're only going to be able to pitch 3-4 innings at the most anyways, maybe 5 to 6 at the end of the tournament. But with I think it's 50 pitches in the first round. If you throw over 50 pitches, then you have to sit for like 3 or 4 days rest. If it's over 30 pitches, then you have to sit 1 or 2 days. So because of that, I can imagine that DeRosa is probably going to keep those guys under those limits. So we'll see a lot of like piggybacking back and forth. So maybe one starter goes 3 innings, another guy goes another 3, and then you just go to the bullpen, something like that. So
that's very little league. That's very little league. The pitch limits. I didn't even know that they had those specific limits too. That's very funny. So
yeah, they finally like posted them. It took forever for them to post like the rules on the WBC website, but I think now that they have them, it's like every round has its own limits. So once you go later in the tournament, I think it goes up to like 100 pitches. So by the final, then you can actually like pitch pretty far into the game. But in that first pool stage, it's like 30 pitches, 50 pitches, and then you have to rest a couple days.
Yeah. See, this is why Shawn's the WBC guy. I know Shawn has. Let me see, Shawn. Over under 25 times a day, you're checking the WBC website.
Over under 25, probably over.
Okay.
Probably over.
Okay, good. So shout out to Shawn. See, this is why Shawn's on the program. He's got all the rules memorized. Probably has them tattooed on his forearm as well. I love to see it. Now, you mentioned Team Mexico, and we'll talk about them further in depth here in a second. But that's the game that I have circled on here. And Shawn, this is a gambling show, so I do make bets on all these games, and I do have futures on 2 countries. None of them in this pool, unfortunately. Shout out to my guys, Venezuela and Japan. But that's the game that I have circled on my games list. Like, that's the game I will be betting on. I've already have convinced I will be taking Mexico to beat the U.S. And all of that good stuff, especially because it's there in Arizona, and there's going to be a lot of Mexican fans there. And it's going to be very interesting to watch. I cannot wait for all that. But who do you think is, or I don't know if this is already confirmed, who do you think is going for that game? Is it Brady Singer?
No, it's not confirmed yet. The only thing we know is Adam Wainwright's probably going to start. You're going to see Nick Martinez start a game or 2, and then other than that, it's all up in the air.
And the coaching staff is hilarious too. Again, I actively root against the U.S. and then I hope all the comments let me have it if the U.S. does win this, because again, I root for them actively. But them picking an MLB analyst to coach their baseball team, I did get a good laugh out of that. They've got a great, rest of their coaching staff. Shout out to King Griffey and all them, but I did get a good chuckle out of that. So that'll be fun. So let's talk about the fun part of this U.S. lineup, or this team. It's the lineup. It's obviously it's stacked. They have the best outfield, and I'll argue with people about that. Trout, Mookie Betts, Kyle Tucker versus Julio, Juan Soto, and Oscar Teoscar is going to be a fun matchup or whatever. Fun discussion. But I'm a Red Sox fan, as you might be able to tell, so I might have a little bit of a Mookie bias. And obviously, this is probably the biggest games of Mike Trout's career. Has not played in more important, more energized games for him. So if he's as good as everyone says, and I obviously believe he is, he's the modern day Babe Ruth, et cetera, all that good stuff, whatever. But I think he'll be heard from. Overall, I mean, let's just start initial impressions. Are we expecting this team to score like 10 runs a game and then just sock them to the finals and quarterfinals and all that? Because obviously we don't have faith in the pitching, but is it just the lineup we're putting all our faith in, huh?
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for, is that it's just going to be a high scoring, just shootout every single game, which I could easily see that being the case. If you look at the lineup, and you mentioned already half of it, Kyle Tucker, Mike Trout, Mookie Betts, and then the infield is also ridiculous. Arenado, Goldschmidt, Trey Turner, and Jeff McNeil, Tim Anderson. So no matter who, like even the backups, like the bench would be one of the top teams in the WBC.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Hideo
Yeah, exactly. Our third catcher, you got Real Muto, Will Smith, And then somehow Kyle Higashioka made it on the roster.
Yeah, it's just like Christian Laettner. It's just like Christian Laettner on the Dream Team. He's just there. He's just there to fill out the roster. He's a good practice player.
The top three catchers in baseball.
Yes, that's what I say always. That's what I say as well. And also the top catcher, top Dominican catcher, Gary Sanchez. Everyone knows he's the best catcher in baseball as well. Still trying to find employment, Gary Sanchez. I don't hate to see that either because I'm a Red Sox fan. But let's talk about Team Mexico because they're your darlings. I've heard, Shawn. I mean, they've come up. I'll say that for sure. They have names on this roster that we all know. They're starting pitchers. I mean, I don't think it's really a discussion. I think their starting pitching is a lot better than the U.S.'s, especially. And let's just hope that they're using their common sense here. Play this smart, Mexico. Start Julio against the U.S. Just don't mess around. Start Julio against the U.S. and let's not play those games because that's what's going to give them the win. They need to beat. Well, I wouldn't say they need to beat the U.S., but if they did beat the U.S., it could almost guarantee them to get to the next round because who knows what's going to happen with Colombia and Great Britain. I think they could be doormats. And then the real game that matters for them will be the last game against Canada, which is arguably going to be the best game of that day. We'll see how that goes. But I just want to hear your thoughts on this Mexican team because I know you're their biggest backer.
Yes. Apparently, I am one of the higher fans on Mexico for this year. And I like what you said because I think that they're probably they got to start Julio Urias. It's got to be him. They've already tasted what it feels like to beat US in 2013 in the WBC. So there's no way they're going to try to save him for another game. For example, Korea is not going to start Kwon Yoon Kim against Japan because they're like, okay, we're probably not going to beat them, but as long as we win all of our other games, we're going to advance. There's no way Mexico's doing that. This rivalry is just too big. They're going to start Julio Urias. But then, like you said, this is one of my favorite underdogs. I'm not too familiar with the betting scene in sports, but what I will say is that I'm definitely higher on Mexico than a lot of people are. That starting rotation of Urias, Patrick Sandoval, Taijuan Walker, and Jose Urquidy is one of the best rotations in the tournament. I'd be pretty surprised if they all don't do pretty well in the WBC. So unfortunately, they have a couple of their top bullpen arms are not in the WBC, like Andres Munoz, Mariners guy, and then I'm blanking on his name. Roberto Osuna, everybody's favorite former MLB closer. He, after all his allegations going over to Japan, he's actually been pretty lights out, and he was committed, but then had to withdraw later on. So,
man, that's I hadn't thought about him in a while. So thank you for bringing up his name. That made me that gave me a good tickle there. No, I agree with you wholeheartedly though. The bullpen is terrifying, admittedly. Luis Cessa, again, Red Sox fans, so I have negative thoughts on Luis Cessa. He never really was good for the Yankees. Now he's in just purgatory for the Reds. Javier Assad is okay. And you got Jojo Romero, who hopefully he has, I don't know, maybe we can throw him a Modelo, put some salt on the rim, some tahini, and then he could do the whole Red Bull thing before coming out the bullpen then. That'd be good. Shawn, as a Venezuelan person, as a Hispanic person, I can say, I think you're becoming one of us, Shawn. You're coming towards the Mexican side. I can see it in you. You're married to a Brazilian woman. You like Mexican baseball, Shawn. You're coming to our side, Shawn. You're coming to our side. I like where this is going.
Thank you. Well, I have a surprise for you with you saying that is that my mom's side of the family, full Mexican.
Oh, okay. There we go. One of us, Shawn. Welcome to the community.
So thank you.
Love it. See, Shawn's one of us, guys. If you guys have any questions where he lies, one of us. Shout out to you. All right, so that's Team Mexico. It's pretty straightforward with them. Obviously, the lineup's very interesting as well. They have a lot of Red Sox players, unfortunately, for them, I guess. Alex Verdugo hopefully plays well. Rowdy Tellez is going to be fun. But we'll see how it goes. When I'm capping these baseball games, when I'm breaking these baseball games down, I'm mainly focusing on the pitching because I think the lineups will be there and the pitching will decide the game and it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, couple of top will be Randy Arozarena, Alejandro Kirk. You got Joey Meneses, who broke out this last year. So it's a full MLB lineup on the field for them. I'm expecting their starting pitching to kind of carry them, hopefully, though.
All right, beautiful. So that is Team Mexico. And let's talk Team Canada because, a lot of Pub Sports Radio viewers are Canadian. Shout out to our Canadian viewers and do love their Canadian baseball. And I mean, obviously, Freddie Freeman's the talk of the town. There's basically like three guys on this Canadian baseball team that everyone knows and loves. We've got Freddie Freeman, I say arguably one of the better outfielders in baseball, Tyler O'Neill, and then young star Bo Naylor. Shout out to Josh Naylor. Fun fact about me, I was a minor league bat boy, and I was Josh Naylor's minor league bat boy. He dominated. He was hitting like, I was just remember, it's like, why is this fat dude hitting like 340? It's like, what's going on? And he was very chill, and then suddenly just became a psychopath. But shout out to him. He won't be playing, unfortunately. His brother is, so I'm excited to see how that goes. What are we expecting here? Because I mentioned with Mexico, I think that the pivot game for this whole group is going to be that last U.S. or Mexico versus Canada game. For a lot of Mexican fans, they'll be on the edge of their seat there. That could be the game that decides who qualifies in this group. And who knows who they're going to pitch, because it's the last game. So it's kind of like they got thin ice there. They've got two pitchers that we know and love. Shout out to Nicky Pivetta, the innings eater. He'll eat those damn innings. He might. Who knows?
Yes,
he might pull 7 for Canada. Who the hell knows with that guy? And then Cal Quantrill, who again, my Red Sox bias is showing through here. There's a lot of Red Sox tangents in this episode, which is very interesting. Cal Quantrill, obviously a foe of Rafael Devers, but he's a really good pitcher. So I respect him. My first question, just in general for you, Shawn, is I know you might not know this, but Matt Brash, obviously he's been in and out of the bullpen and rotation for the Mariners. Is he starting?
Yeah, I'm not sure. There hasn't been any info on whether he's starting or not. I think he could easily be one of their top starters if they wanted to. But at the same time, if they wanted to have him to eat some innings in the back of the bullpen as well, whether he could even be their closer at this point. But I'd prefer to see him throw more innings than just one at the end of the game. So if they maybe throw him against Colombia or Mexico to start a game, or like a couple innings into the middle of the game, I think he'd be fine. He's probably one of their better pitchers as well.
No, I agree wholeheartedly. So the real question is, and we'll have more information as the time gets closer to the games, who's starting when? Because obviously we want to bet on Canada when they're starting Cal Quantrill and Nick Pivetta, but it's the real question: who they're going to start him? Are they going to start him against the U.S., which is ultimately the default plan for most of these countries? They can't throw their slapdicks against the U.S. because it might be a tough time there. And then it kind of leaves them exposed. Obviously, like we keep mentioning, that last game against Mexico is going to be gigantic, and they'll probably want one of those guys then. So it'll be fun to see how it balances. And really, ultimately, we're just watching Freddie Freeman on this team. Can Freddie Freeman just find a way to, and Tyler O'Neill? Tyler O'Neill's really good too, but can they find a way to pull this team up from their bootstraps and get advanced? I respect Canada a lot, but I just don't think they'll be much of a factor here in this for them.
Yeah, one of my favorite parts about this team is we got the big star. We got Freddie Freeman, one of the best players in the world, and then we got a couple reliable pitchers. But one of the more underrated aspects of this team, I think, are the prospects. Like, they got a couple top prospects in Owen Casey, one of the top Cubs prospects, and then Edouard Julien for the Guardians, I believe. So they're both pretty solid. They're both like guys that are rising up the prospect rankings if you follow like any prospecting accounts. So I'm excited for them to use this kind of as like a showcase for their talent moving forward into MLB in the next year or two. But I wouldn't expect them to make it out of this pool. I really like Mexico. I think Colombia is pretty solid as well. So I have a hard time seeing them actually be able to make it out of the pool.
We'll talk about Colombia next as a lovely segue. I really thought Colombia was going to be a doormat. I mean, again, as a Venezuelan person, I don't like Colombia. They're just our neighbor rivals for many reasons. And I was like, they're going to be, who do they got? What are you talking about? Colombia doesn't play a baseball. And I look at their roster. I'm like, wow, Jose Quintana. What? Wait, hold on. And I just, Donovan Solano. Wait a minute. This team's actually pretty good.
It's pretty solid. They got a new Red Sox player too in Jorge Alfaro.
Yeah, shout out to him. He hits bombs in the Dominican Republic. He apparently fucked the defense, but who knows? I mean, he could be a good player. So Colombia, a threat here. The real question is, for us gambling purposes, who do you think is going to win this Colombia-Great Britain matchup? Because, I mean, initially, it seems like Colombia is going to beat them and then probably secure their automatic qualification for the next World Classic, because that's the big thing here. Don't finish in last place, because they've got a kind of I do know this, it's got a promotion relegation in that factor. You finish in last, you have to go through the whole qualifying thing again for Great Britain. And honestly, it's kind of a miracle they made it here. Shout out to Henry Ford, I believe his name is.
Harry Ford, yes, sir.
Ford. There we go. I was thinking Henry Ford of I forget Ford Motors or whatever it is. But yeah, Henry Ford of Beast. He put them back there. He took them on his back. So I'm excited to watch him play as well. But yeah, so it seems like Colombia should just be pretty much better than the Great Britain, right?
Yeah, I would if I had to guess right now, I see it being USA, Mexico, kind of the top. Like I would expect both of them to advance, and then you got Canada and Colombia, who are right on the bubble, they're right on the edge. One of them could make it if somehow Mexico finds a way to lose a game or two. Great Britain is a tier below that, unfortunately. I wouldn't be surprised if they won a game because they actually do have a couple solid bats. It's the pitching that's really lacking for them. They hardly have any pitching that's going to compete with a lot of the top teams. So, yeah, I don't think they're going to. I would have guessed that they're going to finish last in the tournament or in the pool and have to requalify. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. And real shame Jazz could not play for them. Would have made them much more interesting. So I expect to see Great Britain in the future, though, again. So it'll be fun.
Here's a fun fact, too, that I actually didn't tweet out because it was not confirmed until recently. But Tristan McKenzie was actually invited to play on the team. So that would have been pretty solid. If they could have just had one solid starter on Great Britain, it would have been that would have probably been a game changer for them. Just to have one guy, one game that they can win can keep you from having to requalify. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see what happens. Shout out to Tristan McKenzie. I'm excited to see what this Great Britain becomes in the future, especially because obviously they get all the Bahamian,
yes, sir.
Well. There we go. There's my pronunciation right there. All right, Shawn. See, that's a quick, easy preview for Pool C. It's all, like I said, pretty straightforward in this group, and obviously the U.S. is the talk of the town here. And Shawn, I'll put you on the hot seat. Is the U.S. going to repeat? Because I've been saying it for weeks. I'm on the Japanese bandwagon. I think they were the most underrated team coming into this, the third favorites. I thought that was a spit in the face. And Venezuela's had their best team in Venezuelan history. So, and I'm biased as fuck when it comes to Venezuela, so that also helps. Yeah. I mean, so I put my money on it.
That's funny because I actually got some backlash when I said on my Twitter that this is the best Venezuelan team they've ever had because 06 was pretty nasty too. But I agree with you. I think the depth of this team is just like something that the Venezuelans have never had before.
Yeah, no, it's nice when everyone from Venezuela has their shit together. It's really, it's the first time that we've all collectively had our shit together. And again, I told my guy Daniel Alvarez this. We talked about Venezuela.
Yeah.
I take like 3% credit because I've told you I was a bad boy, and I was a bad boy while my guy Mario Lopez was the AA Corpus Christi Hooks coach, and I was talking to him. And unbeknownst to me, I didn't even know he's from Venezuela because I was like, oh, Mario Lopez, obviously he's from Mexico. Fucking dumbass me. But I told him I was from Venezuela, and like literally all I care about is the Baseball World Classic in a couple of years. Like we have to perform there, blah blah blah. And I put it in his ear. And, now he's coaching the team, obviously. So, I take 3% credit for us having our shit together. So it's nice to see. It's very nice to see.
Oh yeah.
Shawn, do you have an official prediction who's going to win this? I'm sure people have asked you, but I don't know if you give predictions since you're the graphics guy. If you don't want to give your allegiance to someone, I don't know.
Of course. No, I will absolutely make a prediction, but not quite yet. I've been asked many times for a final answer, but I'm not going to make one until like right before the WBC, just because I need to have all the information right. Even in the last couple of days, we've had some players drop out or some players get added to even after the rosters were revealed. I do really like, though, your prediction with Japan. This team is ridiculous. Like, I'm sure you'll talk about them when you talk about Pool B if you haven't already, but it's the best Japanese team we've ever seen, and they've won it twice. So they clearly can do it again. It's top to bottom. This is the best pitching rotation in the tournament, and they have so much pop in that lineup. So I wouldn't be surprised at all.
It's fun. I talked to my guy Yakuyu. Damn, he'd yell at me for this shit. I fucking took 20 minutes, and I was like, Yakuyu, Yakuyu, and I was like, baseball. I need to learn. It's baseball in Japanese. There's your fun fact of the day. That's baseball in Japanese.
Yakuyu.
There you go. Thank you. But yeah, I talked to him about it. It was a great time. He's a cool dude. So yeah, we talked about Japan. I'm all in. I've been invested. I talked about baseball last year. I did a show every day talking about every game, gambling, etc. And people found out that I have a fascination, or I just have a love of Japanese baseball players. It's just a natural gravitation, and obviously Ohtani has a lot to do with that. But I just, it obviously carried over here. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait.
Oh, yeah.
Shawn, I've talked to you before. By the way, I would like to say I'd like to submit this for the court of public opinion. I DM'd and I followed Shawn probably 2 or 3 months before Shawn just started popping off. All I saw for 3 months was just Shawn Spradling all over my Twitter feed. And I was like, man, I followed this guy 2-3 months before everyone started popping off. I was like, man, I'm a Twitter gold digger. I found gold so early. I felt like I bought an Apple stock super early, Shawn, essentially. I bought that stock super early, and now look at you.
I appreciate it. You are one of the original investors. I checked back in the DMs, and I was wondering too. I was like, man, when did we decide we were going to do a podcast together? Yeah. And it was December, so it really was months ago. So
yeah, again, I was I knew. I was I saw the vision. I was like, this guy's busting his ass doing these graphics. I know how much of a pain in the ass it is to make these graphics, A, and B, get all this information together. So shout out to this guy. This guy, obviously, I have to reach out to him. So I'm excited that I did. I'm excited we get to talk. Please, before you go, please plug your podcast, because again, I listen to it obviously because I want the World Baseball Classic news, and I've even try to help you out with the podcast too. There's good guy Jose's that everyone calls me an asshole for whatever reason. I'm just joking, obviously, but Shawn, please plug your show.
Absolutely, yeah, man. Thank you, good guy Jose. The podcast is called WBC Central. It is on the Baseball Isn't Boring podcast network with Rob Bradford. If you just look up Baseball Isn't Boring on any streaming platform, you'll find it. You'll know it's mine because it has my picture on it. It has the little WBC Central logo. So yeah, I cover all 20 teams, which I guess I'm really the only person that really covers all 20 kind of in depth. So if you want to know anything about the Czech Republic team or the Chinese team or Italian team, definitely hit me up. But yeah, so that's my podcast. I try to do 2 episodes a week.
Yeah, I love it. Like I said, I listen to him. So shout out to you. By the way, again, this is his lovely face on there. My favorite part about your picture on there for the thumbnail, you have the headphone in. You have the headphone in as well. You have the little AirPod sticking out there as well. So I love it, Shawn. I love it. Shout out to you. Shout out to the podcast. You're doing great work. And hopefully, I keep telling you this. Hopefully, we see each other, Miami. Maybe in Miami. It'll be a lot of fun. So
thank you, bro. I'm trying to find a way to make it to both Phoenix and Miami if it's at all possible. So I'll definitely let you know.
All right, beautiful, Shawn. Thank you so much for joining me again. Go follow him on Twitter. You'll know him as, again, the WBC graphics guy. He's killing the game. Those new graphics, again, they're coming in soon, coming in nice. I can't wait. I'm sure that's his whole life right now. That's all he's doing in his free time. I can imagine the grind. So shout out to you.
I'm already working on Venezuela's.
Yep, there we go. Please make it a better color scheme than the jerseys, because some of the jerseys are the ugliest fucking things I've ever seen in my entire life, except for the white and maroon ones. Those are nice, but the red, blue, and yellow ones, get those out of here, dude. Get the fuck out of here. Shout out to everyone for watching, and we'll catch you guys next time on another edition of Say Hey Place.